Now, here's an idea for you political junkies. A new study shows that where you vote just might influence how you vote. More specifically, those who vote in or near a church are more likely to vote for conservative causes or candidates. Don't believe it? Let's ask one of the researchers, Jordan LaBouff. He is a social psychologist at the University of Maine, and he joins us now from Orono, Maine. And Jordan, great to have you on the program. And I guess go right ahead, connect your research dots for us.
Sure. So this research and these data build on a series of studies that demonstrate that context plays a role in people's attitudes and behavior, and where they are changes their attitudes about things. This particular research shows that people in religious environments, whether they're inside churches or walking past churches, express more conservative attitudes and more negative attitudes towards a variety of groups like gay men and lesbian women, Muslims, atheists, etc., that might be seen as sort of threatening to Christianity. And this worked for people from dozens of countries who had a variety of religious backgrounds. So it seems like that regardless of your pre-existing ideas, these contexts can have an influence in attitudes.
So this effect, it doesn't matter if you're a liberal, an atheist, a progressive, you were still able to track this effect of a preference to vote for conservative causes.
That certainly seems to be the case. In this particular study, we had people walking past a famous cathedral in Maastricht, the Netherlands. And those people who happened to be outside the cathedral reported more conservative attitudes on everything from immigration to gun control to prayer in schools, and more negative attitudes towards outgroups like immigrants. Yeah.
Now, by trade, of course, you're a psychologist, not a political scientist. And you didn't set out to see how politicians might use this information, but is this effect significant enough that if you had a tight race, that where the polls are physically located could actually influence the outcome of the vote?
I think that's the good question, David. You know, I am a social psychologist. My interest in this research was to look at how context affects attitudes. And we didn't ask people in this particular study how they would vote on any given initiative, but what we did see was that people's attitudes were more negative towards, for instance, homosexual men and women. Now, I'm at the University of Maine, and in November we're going to have a ballot initiative on same-sex marriages. Churches are one of the most common polling places in the United States, and if people have relatively weak attitudes on a subject and they enter a place that might change their attitudes about those people that they're going to vote about, it certainly stands to reason that it might influence their decisions. And I agree that though the effects are relatively small, many of these elections are won by fractions of a percent, and it could be that these small effects can have pretty large effects on national decisions. Yeah.
All right, let me be a little mischievous then and flip this thesis on its head. Might we expect voters to vote in a more liberal fashion if they voted somewhere that was, let's say, the opposite of a church, a bar or a saloon?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's certainly possible. I don't know that necessarily bars might prime moral convictions, but we do see through work by Jonah Berger and Abraham Rutchick at Cal State Northridge that people voting in various other locations do show priming effects. So people in a school environment were more likely to vote in support of an educational increase in tax. So it's not specific to churches by any stretch. The context in which we make important decisions has some influence on the way those decisions are made.
Jordan LaBouff of the University of Maine, it's been great to chat with you. Fascinating stuff.
Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure.